Hi, my name is Beth Hiley here for Board Game Geek at FIJ 2020. I'm sitting down with Vincent Vergonger from Lucky Duck Games, and you've brought us another entry into the Chronicles of Crime family.
Absolutely, yes. So we are excited to introduce a new trilogy of standalone games called Chronicles of Crime, the Millennium Series. It's called the Millennium Series because it's three games that span from 1400, 1900, and 2400. All games takes place in Paris, so we're visiting Paris in three different eras, and they are a millennium apart. We kind of follow the story of the same family that from generation to generation are working on cases, and they may have some other ongoing threads with other families going on. So there is a red line among all games, even though most cases, those are background story that unravel through the multiple games.
Yeah.
But the cases remain kind of like a Law and Order story, where you have this local, story line here that just feeds a little bit more of the backstory. Yeah.
Let's assume that people are familiar with Chronicles of
Yes.
Crime. There's lots of videos and support materials.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with Chronicles of Crime, go look it up on BGG.
Yep.
But so just as you're giving us a tour, just to kind of maybe note what is similar in now these Millennium editions,
Yes.
and then where these are very unique.
So the foundation of the game is the same. Basically, you're gonna travel around the city of Paris, talk to people, investigate in 3D, like maybe a crime scene or other places. So all this is the same. The changes in the 1400, because each of the three games have obviously every time a twist. In 1400, basically, you are a gentleman who has, coming back from Crusade, has discovered that he has vision. And the more you realize that those vision you never know if they are from the past, from the future, from the present. So when people start a story in 1400, they start with a vision. And there's really no spoiler to show you this. Those are the four visions that you have in the first episode of 1400. And so they really don't give you much. You don't know who are those people, where they are. You don't know if it's past story or a true story. Though they will be a red line that you will use as a clue as you investigate, try to connect people. The second twist to this 1400 version is the dog. So your cute dog has an incredible nose. And you can basically give him sometime objects, and he may be able to find this object throughout the city, and you can follow him to do that. On the board, though, because you have visions, you have this blue versus normal colored background. And what it means is that you may actually have heard about something, yet you don't have it physically. And as soon as you get it physically, you can put it back here, knowing that basically anything here, the dog will not be able to help you with.
Makes sense, because it's still just in your head.
Exactly. So it's you've heard of maybe there's a bottle here. You heard a bad bottle, but you don't have it physically. Therefore, you can't yet use it as a physical clue. So that's why this board is limited. The idea of this game as well is that we want to price it cheaper. The game is going to be $10 cheaper than the current, even though it's standalone. So we found some small trick to not lose the quality, but it's a simpler. It's a simpler board to keep it tight.
Yeah.
We will have double-sided board to have less of them. The idea is to try to have a more compact version of the game, yet fully standalone. And the last thing for this twist, sorry, I'm jumping from left to right, but just to finish, so you have your home with your family, who is well established in the Paris city. Your brother, Monk, is expert in written materials. Your sister is a merchant. She's expert on any form of item. She can tell you a story about those items. And you have, luckily, one of your brother who is a spy and can know a lot of stuff about people. So that's how you can again try to complete information further than what people may tell you or not tell you about.
You've got three experts sitting at home.
Exactly. How lucky is that? Yep. And so that's 1400. It's written by Grzegorz and Pierre, who are a French and a Polish writer. One of them worked on the on the base game of the base game of Chronicles of Crime, and Pierre Buty is actually a French writer who works for Ubisoft and is from the video game industry. 1900, to talk quickly about the other ones, takes place, so it's literally in Paris, right at the Eiffel Tower construction. It's the same year, so it has this kind of Belle Époque feel to it, and you're a journalist. And you have literally puzzles. So we decided to kind of bring this kind of escape roomy feeling to it, where you have 2 or 3 real puzzles in the game. So it's not just deduction. At some point you'll be locked in a room, or something will happen to you, and you have extra tarot-sized card with things on it. And finally, 2400 is kind of a dystopian vision of Paris in the future, and you're working as an outcast corporate investigator. It's the one that we've put a lot more thought, because it's...
Pause for 1 second. Okay, so
let's
dystopian
go back to,
Paris.
2400. Yeah, so it is basically based on so because we had to reinvent so much of the background. It's one of them. It's one of the 3 that we really had to put a lot more writing, a lot more backstory to kind of give enough understanding and cultural understanding of the event. Because it turns out in a crime-solving story, there's a lot of cultural common knowledge that we use for people to deduct that something is possible or not, that is physically or something. So a lot more work. And this one uses basically cybernetic improvements that you gain throughout the game. So. Yeah.
What was the inspiration to go from, a classic detective, and then you had your expansion noir, and to now venture into such radically different thematic areas?
Well, actually, the truth is, because the premise of Chronicles of Crime is that you can really put a lot of stories on this with the same component. We have actually now, I think. So we have 3 new stories coming up this year on DLC, but we also have, I think, now above 12 community stories, plus the 5 web, plus the 5. So we're about over 20 stories in the base game. There was 2 years later, because we're 2 years later, literally. We wanted to kind of renew the same system, but in new eras. We wanted to kind of refresh a little bit the settings, because this super flexibility of reusing the same method at some point also can kind of gets tiring a little bit of this stuff. So the idea was we wanted to find a premise that will englobe 3 brand new eras. Also, those eras were kind of picked by the community. We asked them, hey, if we do new stuff, what will be the one? And so those were the top 3 that came over. So we managed to kind of we wrapped it up around the idea of the same family over a millennium, and kind of have this red line of story back to kind of tie it together in something elegant. And the last thing that
you brought your community back into it.
Yeah, it's important, right? I mean, the game is the landmark of the game is that there's such a big community of creators, of people who have translated the creator version of this thing, that play this thing, that for us it's super important to still engage with them and try to decide together what's next, And finally, the idea of going for a base game, a standalone, is because a lot of people who wanted to do just noir face the reality that they have to pay $40 plus another $25, that's $65 only to just play noir. So we wanted to be able to kind of remove this expansion feel to it. And allow you to just buy the era that you want, even though you may not get the full thing. So that's what's for us important as well.
I'm really glad I asked that question, because to hear all the levels of consideration that you guys have put into the components and the price point and the theme and the setting and the mechanics and well, if you guys want to appreciate how much Lucky Duck has put into their consideration of Chronicles of Crime, then you should check out Notre Dame 1400, which is again published by Lucky Duck Games. And Vincent, thank you so much for taking us on a tour of Paris.
Thank you.